If you're joining us now, we are doing a virtual noob fly tying, and Miesha has just joined on.
Howdy.
This is Miesha Dennis of Brown Girl Outdoor World, which we would love to hear more about soon.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just trying to fix my dollar store chair that keeps on flipping down every time I sit on it.
Okay. Yep, those are the adjustments. Are you at the right height? Is the desk at the right height? All that stuff for comfort.
This one just tries to decide if it's at the right height for itself. It doesn't give me the opportunity to decide. So
slowly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is a Confluence Collective operation they put together where they put somebody with some experience. I'm not going to call myself an expert because I don't think that's quite fair. With somebody who's newer to fly tying, and then we tie a fly, and then folks who are watching can also tie along with us, which would be awesome. I'm going to run over the material list real quick just so everybody can be prepared. We're looking for 6/0 thread. We're going to tie these flies typically more for trout or salmon, bass, or all the above, more of those smaller species, which should be perfect for your water, by the way. You're going to need size 6 to size 2 hook you can get away with. Marabou really does come in a variety of lengths, so you can get away with a variety of hooks. You want 2 or more colors to play with. The reason why I like this fly so much is highly creative, great colors. I like that. Yeah, that's sexy. And you can have flash, which is optional. This is kind of like a stripped down version of the popsicle fly. Ooh la la, gold, lovely. Which is an Alaskan marabou streamer that's typically used for your salmonoids or your steelheads. So again, harkens right back to that water, Miesha, that you're right next to, that you can easily fish all of these flies for. You just adapt your colors to your target species, more or less.
So I'm actually in Toronto, Canada, and it's like we have like our water isn't as clear. We kind of have more water with a lot of silt in it, so it's not as clear. So
is it brownish water, or okay, so that's a tannicky kind of water, which is perfect. That's fine. It'll work for that kind of water too. It's more or less whether or not the species responds to it, and those species will, because you're off of Lake Ontario, right? So you have migratory fish coming out of Lake Ontario. So I used to live in the UP, so I lived in the Great Lakes area, so I understand the migratory fisheries there too. So this will be perfect for that. In fact, I use this fly a lot up in the St. Mary's Rapids when I would fish for the steelhead, the salmon, as well as the Atlantic salmon that are in there. And I think you guys have some Atlantic salmon in your area too. Do they come up your river? Do you know?
I think, yes, they do, because I'm on the Humber River, so I do get a lot of, it's actually pretty cool to see in the fall time when the migration starts.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool to see when they're running up to spawn. I haven't caught one myself, and I'm sure my setup doesn't allow that, but I take pleasure in saying that I've caught but because bass are greedy, so they eat everything, right? They're good for your ego.
But those big ones, they will definitely kind of test you, you know?
Oh yeah. They're good for your ego though.
Yeah.
Because you're so greedy, you walk away feeling like you're a champion fisher from a bass.
Well, we'll be doing that with this fly too, because you're gonna feel like a pro and an expert, because I'm one of those people who really like Cotton's tube guide flies. Guide flies are usually really quick, really easy, and highly effective, and that's what I prefer. I don't mind doing the fancier fun stuff on occasion. Definitely, that's fun. But I kind of like the quick and dirty and really productive flies. Those are usually my faves.
Okay.
Hi, ladies. I see everybody waving.
Oh, they're saying hi in the comments. Hello, everybody. Are you here to watch my comedy show?
Both of us. This is definitely going to be a comedy hour. All right, so let's open up our bag of marabou, and let's see what we're looking at and what we got for size. It can come in a wide variety, whether it be really long or really short, and that kind of dictates your hook size, more or less.
So my marabou has a whole bunch of different characters in it.
Sweet.
Um,
Well then you have the perfect, because then you can choose. So
I feel like I could totally do like a some kind of show with the marabou that I have. So there's this.
yes, you got to do the little geisha feather. There you go. Perfect.
Add a little bit of mystery.
All right. So typically you get strung marabou, which is this tightly tied together. You can see the strings. Yep, yep. So there's usually a variety of size in here, which is nice and fun. And I will pull out or either get my shears, your scissors, and kind of move up maybe a quarter of an inch or so and maybe separate those by just pushing your scissors straight up on those threads, and that'll break open your pack, and then you can pull some out, and then usually you can get a little hunk out.
Oh, that's a fancy, sexy color pink.
Yeah, it's hot colors, hot
I
colors.
like it. I like it. I like it a lot.
So in this one little pack that I have pulled apart, I've got like this little tiny piece compared to this giant piece, you know, where it's really long fibered material. So there's your size variety, which is nice. I like that actually, because then I can really customize. But for the size 6 hook, which is I believe what you have, right?
I do believe I do have a size 6, yes.
Uh-huh. For the size 6, we're probably going to want the smaller, shorter fibered material that you can get a hold of. That's going to fit that hook better and not make it too long for that particular hook, if that makes sense.
Yeah. For me, this is kind of like the whole potato bag thing where they say if you cut one cord, what part of the cord for the bag of potatoes, and you pull it apart, it should all open up. It never, ever, ever works for me.
Yes.
There's absolutely nothing I can do to make it work. So now I'm here trying not to.
Just slide that scissors right up against and just kind of go up straight with the marabou, and you'll just separate and sever those cords. And then, you know, kind of like with the bag of potatoes, you're just going to cut the cord out.
Yeah, just cut the cord. Cut the cord. Just cut the cord.
So yeah, we're probably going to tie more than one, I'm going to assume, because these are really quick flies.
Okay.
I'm going to tie one that's more stealthy, more very, very fishy colors, which is a black and olive.
Ooh.
This I caught a lot of Atlantic salmon on up that way. It was
very. All the seems to be really long for some reason.
All of them are really long?
For some reason, they seem all really long.
Well, there's also the tip too. The tip is going to be shorter, so you could stay closer to the tip and just save the bottom material for another tie. That's another option too. Don't sweat it. Okay.
Good thing you mentioned the don't sweating part, because I already started.
Yeah, no, I'm very laid back, laissez-faire. Like I said, I do believe in the chaos theory. I think flies should be messy. I think most bugs are kind of messy too, and I think, you know, those crippled flies and all that stuff that people purposely, I think that does work. I think nature does kind of key in on the wounded or the weird or the things that stand out. Yeah. So might as well. Yep. Tie it with it in there. Make it life easy. So go ahead. I'm assuming you know how to seat your hook and all that, right?
Just right here?
Yep.
Are we using any beads or anything, or are we just going straight for, okay, cool.
Yeah. So this is a really relatively easy casting fly too, which is nice too for newer fly tyers and fly fishers. So you can put on your thread. We're going to actually, so for this particular part, oh, you can't see me. Oh, that's not fair. All right, for this particular part, we're actually going to stay, if you can see, up at the first third of the shank of the hook. Okay. So the shank, if you know, is between the eye and where the hook point, where the barb on that hook point is. That's the entire shank of the hook. So we're only going to work in that first third. So when we tie on, we're going to stay up at the front. Normally, we go to the back of the fly for, so we're going to tag on.
I'm still trying to get the thread on the bobbin here, trying to make that work.
The threader, or you use the straw method?
I just
Yep, that's suck it like a
Yep.
straw method.
All the way up.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm pro at with fly tying.
Hey, you know what? There's something to be said for that, because that is a common issue, and a lot of people are very tired about dealing with it. So being a pro at that is very helpful.
So are we going all the way back to the shank you said, right?
Nope, just that first third, just that first third back. If you can see where I am, roughly, you can see I'm
Okay.
not very far, so everything's going to be more up at the front. Now, if we want to get fancy with this fly, which we can if we want to tie a third fly, we can get real fancy. You can almost do an intruder style with it, where you can palmer some marabou, have some space, and then palmer more marabou, so you have two poofs. And
Okay.
then you have flash in between that kind of covers the shank of the hook, or you can like cover the shank of the hook with flash. You can do all that stuff. I mean, I just want to get you the ropes and get you the bare basics, and then you can just go crazy with this. That's the fun thing. This is a highly creative tying. So there's two things that we can do. First fly we're going to just do two-toned. The next
Okay.
fly we're going to do is we're going to mix two colors. So we're going to have two feathers at the same time going, which creates this really cool tie-dye effect.
Okay.
And then the third one, we can do whatever you want and however you want to get crazy with it. So when we're tying in, we're going to tie in what's called the tip, which is the top part of the feather. We're going to want to
Okay.
separate it out, but we're going to be careful not to get too far to the tip because it's super fragile. This is the fun part.
Okay. So I have the tip.
Yep.
Just the tip.
But let me see the other end. Oh yeah, that's the tip. So the little strip a little more away. Yeah. Yeah, you just want a little poof at the top, more or less.
Okay. Let me grab it a little bit more.
There you go.
Flip it down and there you
And
go.
then we're gonna tie the tip with it over the eye.
Okay.
So we're gonna put a couple of wraps, loose and then tight wraps, and that'll help lock that in. Perfect. Very good. You've definitely done this before.
I've never done this. What are you talking about?
You look like you've done it before.
I am such a noob at this.
You got that? All right, so at this point, then we're gonna take the tip out, but don't cut so close. Leave a tiny tag there.
Okay.
Just take it out of your way.
So you're gonna cut the tail end off, or?
The tip, just the tip part that went over the eye. So you're gonna lift the tip up. I'm sorry, I did it without showing you.
That's
so
okay.
Lift the tip up. So there's the tip. It's still somewhat attached. And then you're gonna snip it, but don't get too close to the threads. Yep, that's perfect.
Okay.
Now bend back the little stem that you have there. Bend it back and then put some thread wrap on top of the bend back stem. So what this does is called locking in.
Okay.
And what you're going to do is you're going to prevent, if it was just left straight and then say we had wraps on top of a straight piece, it could pull out from under the wraps. But if you bent it over and tied it in, then you've locked it in. It's not going to pull out so easily.
Okay.
All right. So now we're going to do the palmering. So you're going to lift the stem up from the thick part and you're going to wet your fingers and then pull the feathers together. So there's a convex and a concave side. You want to make sure you're on the convex side. Yep, you are on the right side.
Are we allowed to lick things still? Being corona led and everything?
Most of this stuff is so heavily treated with dye and stuff. I doubt that any virus can live on it.
I'll probably get poisoned before I get the corona.
All right. Well, I've been doing this for a little bit and I haven't died yet. So.
Okay.
All right. So now we're going to palmer, which is going around the shank of the hook is what it's called. And every time
wrapping away from me or wrapping towards me?
You're always wrapping up and away.
Up and away.
Up and away. So every time you're coming, though, if you notice, I'm going to pull the fibers out and get them out of their own way, more or less. So you want about 4 or 5 wraps, not a huge amount. And then whenever you feel like you've got enough going on, then you're going to tie off. and I'll wait here for you to tie
Yeah.
off. So tying off is usually the confusing bit for some folks. So you always want the material, you're right-handed, I'm assuming. It looks like
Yeah.
you are. So you always want your material in your right hand, and you want to take your thread and go up and over with your left hand, and that's tying off.
So up and over with the left?
Up and over with the left. But you want to, no, see where my right hand is? It's far over, yes. Now you want to go up and over with the thread.
Oh, so does it kind of wrap itself back towards the front of the hook?
Well, what you're doing is you're actually going over the stem of the feather, and that's how you tie off. Otherwise, you're just laying tracks in front of the stem, and you aren't really tying the material off.
Okay.
Yep. There you go. So now you're going to actually, once you do that, and then I do 2 tight wraps on top, which kind of locks it all in after you've done that. And then you're going to snip out that stem, not too close.
Okay.
So you're going to lift it up. Yep. And snip it out.
Lift it up and snip it out.
Yep. And then a couple of more wraps to lock it all back. And then you can either add flash at this point if you want to get fancy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll add some gold.
We're going to go for some gold flash?
Gold. We got gold.
We got gold. Okay. And how many strands of flash am I using?
I'm using 3, and I'm thinking I probably have too many, although I think my flash might be twice as long as yours. So I've got a ton going on. So maybe just 2 or 3, because you're going to cut them down to size. So I folded mine twice, and now mine's, I'm going to measure it here. It's about 4 inches, which is about the right length. It's probably a bit too long, but we'll go with it. You can either put the flash on the top, like so. I'll wait for you. You can either put it very much on the top, and we're only going to tie in at the middle of the flash too, by the way.
Okay.
And the reason being is we want to lock the flash in too. We don't want it to slip or pull out. Okay. So we could either tie right on top, which is nice, but I think that's more for us to see than the fish sees. Or we could tie on the side, which is more of a lateral line, which I think more fish respond to. But you're always going to tie in at the middle point of the flash. Like the middle. Yeah.
So did you snip yours in half, or?
I did cut it so that it's about 4 inches long, so I cut it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then you're going to want to tie in at the middle. Yep. So you can make the choice if you want it on the top or the sides. It's up to you.
I'll follow the leader here and go on the top.
Okay. So we're going to do 2 wraps on top of the flash. We're going to fold the other half over, and then 2 more wraps on top.
Okay.
And if anything moves, don't worry about it. You just kind of hold everything still and just crank down on it with some more thread wraps and make it stay still.
My flash decided to go fancy and get a curly tail.
Ah.
Oh, well.
Sparkly.
Yes.
So now you take your second feather, and you're going to do the exact same thing you did with the first feather, and you're going to finish it off with that. And that's pretty much the fly. It's pretty simple.
Okay, so we're going to go get a little bit of tail, a little bit of the tip. Take some of the tip out.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. And we're going to tie it right up top.
Yeah.
Right?
Perfect.
Yep.
And then we're going to tie that in. And then we're going to snip the tip.
That sounds painful.
It could be. As long as it's not my tip, I'm good. Remember to leave a little bit of a tag and then fold that tag back and tie it in.
Oh, I think I went back too far on this bad boy. Tie it in.
No worries. No worries at all.
Tie that in. Cut her off.
Perfect.
Then we tie it in to make it stay.
Yep. And then now we're gonna finish, but we're gonna be mindful of our eye and not like crowd the eye, so we don't want to get too far forward. So you're gonna finish just before your eye.
Okay.
So move your thread forward however you need to if it's not in the right place to just before your eye where you're going to stop. And then remember, we're looking for the natural bend in the feather, and we're going to follow the bend in the feather and then pull the material to follow the bend. And wetting it does make it 1,000 times easier to deal with.
Okay, we're going to wrap up and away from us, right?
Yep. I always hear that weird song, although I think it might date me a little bit. Up, up and away in my beautiful balloon.
I'm going to up. Oh, my flash wanted to be a part of wanted to join the party, so.
Well, you can just wet that and lay it down, and then it'll totally stay out of your way again. And then when we're at our stop point, you're going to lift the tip up, you know, the tail end, the butt section.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wait for you to get there, though.
I mean, does she look perfect? No. She might end up looking like a butterface, but
you know what? I think perfect is overrated.
Me too. I don't do perfect in anything, so that's why I failed math.
Generalize.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
So don't crowd the eye, you said?
Yep. So you're going to want to tie off. And remember, when we're tying off, we're going to put our material in the right hand, and we're going to go make the thread go up and over the top of the material we're tying in.
Okay.
There
up
you go.
And over.
Perfect. That's right. She will fish, says Northwest Fly Girl.
She'll fish.
That's right. She'll hunt.
And she'll make dinner.
And she'll make dinner. That'd be nice if a fly did that. So when you're ready, snip the tip out again.
Snip the tip.
Yep. And then we're going to clear and clean the head. So by making a nice thread track ramp.
I mean, I think she looks sexy, actually.
Yeah. Now remember, that's what it's going to look like when you're stripping it in the water. But when it's done with the movement of you pulling on it, or if current plays on it, it'll puff back out just like the full puff, and it'll have lots of movement in the current. So that's why these are really good and very effective. Okay,
that is beautiful.
And then you're going to whip it off.
Ooh, whip finishing.
Okay, is that not your friend?
That's Erica, well, Confluence, currently Confluence. That's her favorite thing to do. She's a hand whipper.
Oh, yes. Well, there's several ways to whip. There's a quick and easy and dirty way if you want. You just simply get, I don't know if I've got one quick and easy here. You pull the pin out.
Jasper wants to know if it's good for smallmouth.
Yes. So these flies are really highly adaptive. You could use them for any fish species that eats other little bait fish, because essentially that's all this is creating is a little bait fish. And they're super easy to cast. They don't hold a lot of water weight, so they're real easy to cast. I used them a lot when I swung with spey rods, or whether I did it with just normal rods. Quick, easy, and dirty. Yes, please. Good job on the whip.
I sit at home and I practice whip finishing because it just makes me look cooler. It makes me look like I know what I'm doing.
Hand whipping is nice because you can reach a different part of the fly where you normally can't with the little whips.
So hand whipping.
Yeah. Wait, you want to try one? Let's try one together.
Yeah. Okay.
It's sexy as hell once you get it.
Okay, so double 2 fingers.
So 3 fingers. So you use the 2 and the thumb. The thumb is this, remember, you're recreating this little tool here. So you got the 2 fingers at the top. The thumb is the hook. So the thumb goes around, and then the 2 fingers help you out.
Yeah, I failed.
You
I
can,
think I'll stick to the tool.
let's try just the 2 fingers, and then, but you just gotta make sure your fingers are held out so that you create this. Can you see the triangle that I'm creating?
Yeah.
So as long as you create a triangle, however your hands prefer, and you make that corner of the triangle go over your thread wraps, you've got to turn your, can you see what I have to do with my hands each time? I have to turn them to make it turn over, where that little tool will do it around on its own.
Yep. So this is me using 2 fingers. And yeah, 2 fingers. Only 2.
There you go. And then when you're done, go ahead and cut her loose. You're done. Then you can put your head cement on.
I've never bought head cement. Now, is it necessary? And how much better does it help my fly to operate if I have head cement? Sally, so I went to the store yesterday to look for Sally Hansen, and I think all the fly fishers came through because there was one bottle of Sally Hansen hard as nails left in the store.
So and I usually get this on Amazon. It's the only place I can normally, or the dollar store. That's another place you can get it sometimes. Any clear, hard, it's a nail hardener finish. That'll work too just as fine. If you got them.
I shall be back.
Go get it. Super glue is overrated. For these little flies, you don't need super glue. There you go. Sweet diggity. So
I stole the connector, by the way.
I would wet your material first, just not the head where you've put your wraps, but wet your feathers. So in case you touch it with your glue, it won't adhere to the feather then and kind of make it look messy. It's kind of a little secret.
Okay. I think I might have got last year's dollar store version.
There you go. That'll work. And then if you happen to glue your eye, which can be a real pain in the you-know-who.
Oh, I've done that before. I couldn't see for like 4 weeks.
So take the end of one of the feathers that you discarded, and the nice pointy end, and stick it through the eye, and then it'll clean the eye out, and then you're good. There you go. Ba-da. See? It looks pretty darn good, doesn't it?
It looks pretty sexy to me.
Yeah. And that's a nice little bait fish now.
Compared to this, and this will always be my marker of a fly. So this is my balance leash. And the epitome of if 2020 was a fly, this is what it would look like.
Yeah, but how many fish ate that before it did that?
Oh, this is a pre-fish eating version.
Oh,
it hasn't been fished.
Well, that's how you learn, right? You know what? I bet you that thing would still fish like crazy. I've had flies that were like falling apart, and they're super fishy, even though they don't look anything like they originally were.
I think I might give it to my mom to pin it to her hat for church.
There you go.
It's a style.
Absolutely. So this is just palmering marabou, but you can layer it too, where you can put multiple color layers on top of one another and make real fancy flies. Like the cool thing about this platform for the marabou is super easy. It's great for beginners, and it's just a big fun playground to be in.
I just wanted to show off with my sexy fly.
Nice. I like the colors of the olive and red. That is real sexy, and that'll work really good in your stained waters.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I kind of asked the guys at the fly shop, I'm like, what colors would work for our waters here?
Yeah.
And they told me what colors would work and that they'd send, because I ordered these. So I kind of had a panic moment today because I ordered these the material last Friday. Yeah. And up until last night when Bree was posting about the fly tying session, I had no material. So I was operating on blind, not having stuff free.
As long as you get some marabou kicking around.
Yeah. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see. And then the mailman showed up this morning and he had my packet in it. I almost hugged him, and then I remember I could only do it virtually. So I might send him a message later.
Air hug.
I was afraid of using an ear hug.
Yeah. Let's try to do the two feathers together because I think you're really going to like the results of the color combos when you do two feathers together.
Okay.
It creates this really cool tie-dye effect, and it's real interesting.
Oh, nice.
And that red you have I like the color of it because it's not like bright engine red. It's a mild, dulled down red. It's perfect. It's very nice red.
What they called
I'm
it.
jealous. I don't have that.
And I think they made this just for me.
It looks like it, but that is like, if you meet other people who are quote unquote fishy, those are the kind of colors they like gravitate to because they're not the bright.
Oh, okay.
Like toned down colors better.
Apparently it's called strong root beer.
Oh, so it's a brown. Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of my favorite colors is root beer, especially on stained.
Compared to this, and this will always be my marker of a fly. So this is my balance leash. And the epitome of if 2020 was a fly, this is what it would look like.
Yeah, but how many fish ate that before it did that?
Oh, this is a pre-fish eating version.
Oh,
it hasn't been fish.
Well, that's how you learn, right? You know what? I bet you that thing would still fish like crazy. I've had flies that were like falling apart and they're super fishy, even though they don't look anything like they originally were.
I think I might give it to my mom to pin it to her hat for church.
There you go.
It's a style.
Absolutely. So this is just palmering marabou, but you can layer it too, where you can put multiple color layers on top of one another and make real fancy flies. Like the cool thing about this platform for the marabou is super easy. It's great for beginners, and it's just a big, fun playground to be in.
I just wanted to show off with my sexy fly.
Nice. I like the colors of the olive and red. That is real sexy, and that'll work really good in your stained waters.
Awesome. Yeah, I kind of asked the guys at the fly shop, I'm like, what colors would work for our waters here?
Yeah.
And they told me what colors would work and that they'd send, because I ordered these. So I kind of had a panic moment today because I ordered the material last Friday.
Yeah.
And up until last night when Bree was posting about the fly tying session, I had no material. So I was operating on blind, not having stuff free.
As long as you get some marabou kicking around.
Yeah. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see. And then the mailman showed up this morning and he had my package. And I almost hugged him. And then I remember I could only do it virtually. So I might send him a message later.
Air hug.
I was afraid of using an ear hug.
Yeah. Let's try to do the two feathers together because I think you're really going to like the results of the color combos when you do two feathers together.
Okay.
It creates this really cool tie-dye effect, and it's real interesting.
Oh, nice.
And that red you have I like the color of it because it's not like bright engine red. It's a mild, dulled down red. It's perfect. It's very nice red.
What they called it.
I'm jealous. I don't have that.
And I think they made this just for me.
It looks like it, but that is like, if you meet other people who are quote unquote fishy, those are the kind of colors they like gravitate to because they're not the bright.
Oh, okay.
Like toned down colors better.
Apparently it's called strong root beer.
Oh, so it's a brown. Ooh, yes. Yeah. Okay, that's one of my favorite colors is root beer, especially on stained water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has more of a deep kind of burnt orangey look to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So pick your next feathers.
My next poison.
We want the two of them to kind of be close to the size of the fibers, so that they're and I'm going to do two bright colored ones. Let's see, should I do that? Should I do that? Let's do trying to find something easy to show up. Yeah, we'll just do this. I also have found these at Joann Fabrics. They'll have this boa with this fabric.
Oh, it looks like the last skirt that I wore.
Yeah, it's a great way to have just keep, especially because I had some teaching classes, and it's great for the students to be able to palm through and pick it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this time we're going to do both together. So let's we're going to tag on like we're supposed to.
Okay.
And let's do a flash tail with this one too. So we'll create a flash tail. So we're going to tie the flash in first.
Tie the flash in first? Okay.
Yep. All right.
Oh, that was bad. That was a horrible wrap.
Let's do silver. Fine.
Oh, you're welcome, Lou Castles. This is all Bree from Confluence Collective, I'd say. And I think this was an amazing, amazing idea that they came up with to do during the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always thought about fly tying. Always thought about doing it and looked into it, and I just never had the the sense of direction on where to go. And then when I saw this, and I was like, oh, awesome, an opportunity to learn from people who actually tie and not just YouTube videos. Because I had actually signed up for a couple classes before Corona. Right. But that did not pan out because they were supposed to happen right during the time of Corona. Right. How much are you using for your tail? Just a bunch?
If I was to guess, I think I pulled maybe 4 or 5 strands and then cut them down in size. So okay. The rule with streamers in freshwater, especially for the various species that you're going for bass, it doesn't really apply, but for like trout and stuff, mm-hmm. The reason to know what the length of the shank is on the hook you're using is you really don't want your tail to be beyond the length of your shank, or you'll get what's called short strike, where the fish will bite at the back end, but they'll never find the hook. Okay. So we always want to be mindful never to be longer than a shank length over the hook for our tail. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to be mindful and make sure our tail isn't too long. And then I'm doing the same thing. I'm tying in half, and then I'm going to fold it over so that we lock our flash in well. And then snip it. And then if I don't like the length, I'm just going to simply get in here with the scissors and give it a hair trim.
I'm sure there's a lot of jealous people out there right now about the fly getting a haircut.
I know. I'm one of them. I'm way overdue. I'm waiting now. I'll wait a little longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's hats. Thank God they have hats.
Yeah. I was speaking earlier to Erica, who's currently operating the Confluence account, and I wanted to tell her that she had a really nice hat on. Uh-huh. But I can never find hats to fit my head because I have a big head.
I have the opposite. I have child size head. Oh, when I get hats, I have to look in the kids section.
I have a lot of brains in my head. That's what I keep on telling people. That's why I'm so good at math.
Apparently have none.
I have none. Don't worry. It's all just space.
Overrated to have brains, right?
Yeah, no. I think so. They're not necessary.
No, but it is interesting, like the sizes and everything. And I didn't realize until I started wearing a lot of actually fish hats that I was like, okay, I can't wear the standard. Mm-hmm. So if people would give me hats and I'm like, yep, it goes right over my whole head.
You're lucky. See, that's fine because I just perch mine on the top of my head and I think it looks cool because first of all, my hair can't. I have a lot of hair. Oh yeah. So to put that in your hat just doesn't work.
No.
Okay, so I have my 2 pieces up. I put my flash on.
Okay. So first we're gonna take. I typically like to do the. I guess it doesn't matter. That might just be a simple ADD thing I've got where I do the lighter color in the back and then the darker color in the front. So whichever is brighter.
Okay.
So I'm going to first separate out the tip of the lighter colored one, and I'm going to lay it down. I'm actually going to wet this time and pull the tip separate so that I can easily pair them together. I'm going to find the second tip, and I'm going to wet it down.
Oh, this one's missing half its feathers.
Well, if you need to find another one, no worries.
You do.
We got time.
This one was missing its feathers from the middle, so.
Aw, a bird must have pecked it.
Poor bird, poor bird, poor bird. Okay.
All right. So now when they're married, when you marry your tips.
Oh.
These are actually terms you're going to hear in fly tying, like marrying wings. And it's pairing them together and blending them together. It's actual terms. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's fly tying lingo.
I did not understand. I did not know that fly tying was such a sexually driven activity. I went into this the first time I went into the store and I went into the bin. Oh yeah. I went into the bin and I was picking stuff up and I was like, what the hell? But yeah.
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 You ready?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
So you got the two of them together, the two colors?
Oh, so I'm putting both of them together right now.
Yeah. Remember the whole marriage?
The whole marriage piece.
We want to marriage them together. We want them to kiss. So put them together.
So we're forming
each of the tips, right? Right where the point where we're going to tie in.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
There you go.
It's so wet. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why wetting the lower section that we're going to use is helpful just to get it the heck out of your way while tying in.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're at that point, go ahead and tie them in.
Okay.
This time, instead of cutting the tip out, we're just going to bend the tip back and get it out of the way because there's just too much going on.
Okay.
So several good wraps. You're going to push the tip back, wrap on top of the tip, of course, because we're going to lock in. And then you're going to move your thread to the eye where you're going to stop because we're going to go the whole length with this material together.
Okay.
So now that you want the two stems, so you find the main stem sections and make sure they stay together. And then just like we did before with the single, but now we're just doing it with two and we're going to palmer it the same way, but two at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, of course, every time when we rotate, we're just going just in front of the previous layer. And you may have to kind of pluck it out a little bit as you go over it.
Yeah.
Because it wants to trap itself a bit, and that's okay. Till the point of where you're at your eye and you're ready to tie off. And we'll just be pretty much doing the same.
Oh, so I think I probably did this wrong. I didn't go back far enough, I don't think.
Okay.
So I was closer to the eye than I should have been.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just go ahead and wrap back a little bit. You can afford that.
Yeah, I got some wiggle room.
Yep. So move your thread though to where you're ending because you're right now. Yeah, you want to move it all the way to your eye where you're going to stop so that you can tie off. Perfect. Yep. Okay. Yep. And then make sure, yeah, you pull your material out so that you've got both of them stroking to the back. Again, there's those words.
Those words.
Those are the official words, though. Now you've made me so mindful. I'm actually blushing.
Don't worry. I left church a few years ago, so my vocabulary is indicative of the fact that I haven't gone to church in years. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Don't blush. We're good.
Okay. You got that. See, you're starting to see that both feathers are going around and that they're starting to blend.
Yep.
Perfect. And then you just keep doing that till you get up to your eye.
Okay.
And then it's going to be a little bit of an unruly mess to deal with, but we'll get you through it, no problem. There you go. It's looking good.
I don't know. The boa this just makes me think of boa and
yes.
And
yep. But that's going to be a great fishy fly. Like those two color combinations you got going on right there. Like
Yeah.
I need you to tie me one and send me one.
You know what? If you send me your postal address, I will send it to you.
That would be sweet.
And when you catch a fly on it, you just say, Miesha did this.
Yeah, I would be totally pumped to do that. That would be blast.
I would even appreciate you putting a cutout and putting my face on that fly on the fish.
Most definitely. I'd be delighted.
Okay, so now that this is thicker at the top, my question is about how am I going to lock this sucker in?
Right. So remember that method we have where all the material's in your right hand and your left hand with the bobbin, the thread is going to go up and over on top of the stems.
Okay, let me just clean this stem up a little bit.
Yep. Yep. It's going to look messy at first, but don't worry, we're going to clean it up. Just make sure that your thread wraps are tight because it'll unwind if you don't.
Unwind. Okay.
Yeah, you don't want it to unwind on you after all that.
I try.
Yeah. But it looks great. I love that color combo. I'm serious.
Okay. And then now we can tie her up at the front.
So I would actually hold it and then crank on it once or twice more real tight with your threads.
At the back or at the front?
Well, I would hold the back section this time, leave the tip standing straight out. And then if you can see my hands, what I'm doing, I'm just going to crank over it twice real tight to make sure it's locked in before I cut them. And because if they unwind at this point, it makes it real hard to get it back to where you were.
You'd get to watch me ugly cry.
It's okay. You can have a temper tantrum. Everybody should every now and again, right?
Yeah, my partner can tell you that my cries are real ugly, especially when I don't want. Okay.
When you think you've tied it all in good enough, lift the tip and snip it.
Poor tip.
I know.
Probably died. Probably should have a tip funeral tonight.
Snip the tip.
Snip the tip. This tip's thick. Thick, thick.
Okay, you said that, not me.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
No worries. So, by the way, I'm probably the, I have the dirtiest mind ever, but anyway.
I haven't done it yet. I'm still in like grade 5 where they say boob and I start laughing. So,
right?
Yeah.
So, you can see that the tail, then you want the tail flash roughly to end right where your fibers end, roughly. Yep.
I'm just trying to tie this little thing off here at the front.
Yep. You want to clean your eye up always.
I didn't realize how thick the end of that marabou was.
Yeah.
Like it had a very thick spine.
Yep.
So when I tied up to the front, I had a little bit of a thicker marabou hanging out. So I'm just wrapping that in. It might be a little bit fat, but well.
And if it's in your eye too much, there's another little secret. You just take the very end here and you push back a little and it'll slide the whole material back, and then you squeeze it with your fingers and rub back and forth like you're trying to, and it'll just kind of push it back and give you a little bit of extra room. So if you accidentally crowd your eye, you can do that a lot to help you out.
Look at that. Man, I feel like a woman.
See, now you can think about all the color combos, like sky's the limit, right?
Oh yeah, I already ordered. I put in an order when I saw what it looked like. When I saw what the fly looked like, I actually put in an order to the shop for some blue and white. Yeah. Because I really want to see what that would look like, and I just better tie on. There you go.
And that's pretty much it. The other thing that we could do to fancy this up is you can use like it would be woolly bugger saddle hackle or what's called hen hackle with a different color in the front to give you just like a solid black or a solid white or a gray, and it kind of sets it off a little.
Okay.
I don't know that it's overly necessary. I think it pleases more fly tyers and probably attracts more fly fishermen than fish, but
I think I screwed up a little bit here on my whip finishings. I'm just trying to make sure it stays in.
yep, you just do more.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so annoying to watch when you go back and all I'm seeing is that striptease song. Good Lord.
Hey, if it gets you through it, it gets you through it.
It does what it do. What are you drinking? I completely forgot. Mhm.
I used to really love microbrews, but medically it doesn't agree with me anymore. So now I've gone over to hard ciders, but fancy hard ciders. So this one is a ginger hard cider,
Oh.
ginger infused. It's actually quite tasty.
Oh, I just wanted to want the world to see that there. I've just
Yeah.
been drinking whiskey.
Ah, see, now you told me you couldn't tie on whiskey. That's a
I'm a
fib.
whiskey gal.
That is a fib.
Give me my whiskey. Oh,
See, I was afraid to go hard, so I was going to be a good girl and just go with the cider.
go hard or go home.
Go hard or go home. Right,
We're
right.
already home. We're already home. So might as well just go hard. There's nowhere to go. So there's that one. There she is.
Yeah.
All tied up and beautiful.
So what else would you like to try?
Um,
Do you want to try the two poofs, the two separate poofs on the hook?
the two separate. I don't have the. Do you need stuff to like join it or?
You've got everything I've already seen. So you've got all the material already.
Do we have time? Because I'm kind of. How are we for time?
I have no idea. It's 9:20.
Oh,
So
thank you.
10 minutes.
Oh, we got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Pretty.
Set her up a little bit. I love the color combo though. Like really love.
I think that's great, sexy color right there. I think that's fishy as heck. I think the bass will smash that.
Yep, I'm gonna go bass it up on Lake Ontario.
Absolutely.
I'm doing it. I'm being bullied in the comments. No, I'm just joking. I'm not being bullied.
We'll
Let's
just go ahead, and if we get cut off, I mean, we can figure it out.
Yep.
So this time, instead of starting in the front, we're gonna start more towards the back end.
Okay.
So I'm gonna lead my thread to the point.
So you're just starting at the back.
Yep. So I move my thread back to the hook point roughly. I mean, you know, the barb. I'm sorry.
So did you wrap from the front or did you wrap from the starting at the back?
I started right in the back.
Okay.
I don't bother wrapping the whole shank if I don't need to.
Okay.
And then I'll do the same color tone I was doing so that it's easily visible.
Okay.
That was a nice visual. And you want 2 feathers, and you're going to want your gold flash that you have.
Okay. Just trying to make sure that that it's not as thick, because then it kind of causes some.
We're only going to use probably the first like half of it, so we're not going to go as deep into the stem this time because we aren't going to recreate what we did before. That was a different style.
Okay.
But it's the same pattern. You just find the tip and you're going to tie the tip in. This time we're going to cut the tip out again like we did before.
Okay, let's grab this one. Just one. We'll do green first.
And then, so the way that intruder style is, it's minimalist. So we're only going to wrap maybe 2 to 3 times around the shank, and that's it.
Okay.
No more.
No more. Be a real intruder. And then I see you wrap it. You wrap towards the front a little bit.
Yeah. So I cut the tip out like we've been doing.
Okay.
And then I left the little stem so that I can fold it back and tie it in. There you go. Yep. Fold her back and tie her in. Perfect. And then I'm going to move my threads to where I'm stopping, which is not very far from where I actually put in because we're only doing about 3 wraps. So So you're gonna have to work around the hook point with your feather, so might be mindful of that. And your fingers. I just caught myself, so.
I've already caught myself.
That was a nice little reminder.
I
And
did
once you get those few wraps, then you're gonna tie off. And it doesn't look like much, but it'll look good when you finish.
2 and 3. And are we tying?
So you're going to want to wrap that tag down the butt end of the stem well, because now we're going to dress the center.
Are we going to tie it off a little bit and then tie it off and then wrap it?
Nope. We're done with this feather. So we're going to tie it off entirely.
Okay. So let me cut this, cut the little tag end, and then tie her up. Okay.
You good?
Yeah.
She
won't look as pretty as the other two, but we're good.
It'll come together later.
Okay.
It doesn't look like a lot at the moment.
Okay.
Let me see your bag of flash again, if you don't mind.
The flash I have.
Yeah. Okay, so it's thin strand stuff. Okay, so
a really thin one.
No, stick with the gold that you had.
Okay.
So just grab a group, like 5. And then we're gonna tie just the front like 1/2 inch in.
Are we cutting it in the middle again?
Nope, we're just tying, see how long it is? Okay. We're just tying the very beginning of it in on the hook here.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then once I tie that in, I'm actually going to fold that back, and it's going to become the flash for the back end of the fly, the tail ends that we're tying in. I don't know if that makes sense. Can you see what I'm doing? See the tie-in piece?
Oh, I didn't tie mine in long enough. Mine didn't. So we're folding the tie-in piece back?
Yeah. We're always want to fold flash back. That prevents it from pulling out.
Okay.
So I track back. Now I'm going to move. Once you track back and tie in and fold your flash, I'm going to move my threads to where I'm going to tie in the next bunch of marabou.
Okay.
Which is up in that first third. And then what I'm going to do is the long fibers of your flash, I'm just going to palmer on the shank and dress the shank with these.
Ooh. Which
is a way, you know, if you don't have body braid or anything fancy to use, you can fancy up your fly. The multi-strand does a good job of covering up gaps and stuff, which is nice. So now you have a dressed hook in between. And then same tie-in method. We're always going to go up and over. The material's in your right, and then the thread is up and over.
Material right, thread up and over.
Perfect. And then we're going to just trim.
How many wraps? About 2 or 3?
Yeah, 2 or 3. This is pretty easy to hold and make stay still. And then I always wrap a couple on top tight afterwards.
Okay. For a largemouth bass. I think someone's asking if this is good for largemouth bass as well.
This is good for all trout. I've used this for Pacific as well as Atlantic salmon, and as well as warm water species from large and smallmouth bass to as well as I've actually caught, oh sugar, it just went out of my head. Everybody calls them eyes.
Pike?
Nope.
I have no clue.
Nope. Senior moment. It's the one everybody likes to eat. I don't eat fish, so. Walleye.
Walleye.
I've
There you
actually
go.
caught walleye on it too.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to separate out the tip.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have the tip facing forward. Thank you. Fish and fly. I don't know why I totally had a weird plank out for walleye.
Okay.
Okay.
Tips in?
Yep. Tie it. Then snip the tip.
Snip the tip.
And then once you snip the tip and you've tied your feather in, you're going to want to move your thread track up to your stop point at your eye.
Okay.
And then now you're going to palmer this as many times as you want to, however you want it to look like. As sparse as you want or as fancy as you want. I think I picked too thin I think I might have to have another feather in here to fix it.
Come on, don't be rude now.
Yeah, we ran out. But you can see the effect where it's that nice intruder sparse.
Okay. And then you said as thin as I want or as much as or fancy as I want.
Right, as you're palmering, I don't know if you can see with my fly, you can actually see in between the two materials, which is what you want. It creates more movement. So less material is more, it creates more